a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Matthew Whitaker, attorney. Matthew George Whitaker is an American lawyer and politician currently serving as acting United States Attorney General. He was appointed by President Donald Trump on November 7, 2018 after Jeff Sessions resigned at Trump's request. Whitaker served as a U.S. attorney during the Bush administration and served as chief of staff to Sessions from September 2017 to November 2018. In 2002, Whitaker was the candidate of the Republican Party for Treasurer of Iowa. From 2004 to 2009 he served as the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Iowa. Whitaker ran in the 2014 Iowa Republican primary for the United States Senate. He subsequently wrote opinion pieces and appeared on talk radio shows and cable news as director of a conservative nonprofit organization. Whitaker's appointment as acting Attorney General prompted a number of legal scholars, commentators, and politicians to question its legality and constitutionality, noting that his selection circumvented Senate confirmation. Some also called for Whitaker to recuse himself from overseeing the Special Counsel investigation led by Robert Mueller, because of his public criticisms of the probe. After Whitaker took office, reports surfaced of his prior work on the board of World Patent Marketing, which had been fined $26 million and shut down by federal regulators in 2017 for deceiving consumers. Early life and education. Whitaker was born in Des Moines, Iowa, on October 29, 1969. His mother was a school teacher and his father a car salesman. Whitaker graduated from Ankeny High School and subsequently attended the University of Iowa, from which he graduated with a bachelor's degree in communications, a Master of Business Administration, and a law degree in 1995. College football career. During his undergraduate years at Iowa, Whitaker played tight end for the University of Iowa Hawkeyes football team, appearing in Iowa's Rose Bowl game in 1991. His football career was described by contemporaries as beneficial to his political career, with law school classmate Charles Larson saying he'd be exactly the type of candidate we'd love to have run. He had a great profile as an attorney and former Hawkeye. There's always appeal there. Career. After graduating from law school, Whitaker worked for a number of regional law firms including Briggs & Morgan and Finley Smith. He was also corporate counsel for a national grocery company, SuperValue, and small businessman owning interests in a trailer manufacturing company, a daycare, and a concrete supply company. Whitaker ran as a Republican for Treasurer of Iowa in 2002, losing to incumbent Democrat Michael Fitzgerald by 55% to 43%. United States Attorney. On June 15, 2004, Whitaker was appointed U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Iowa by President George W. Bush. From 2005 to 2007, he was responsible for the unsuccessful investigation and prosecution of Iowa State Senator Matt McCoy, a liberal Democrat, on charges of attempting to extort $2,000. The jury took less than 2 hours to return a not guilty verdict. Whitaker resigned in November 2009 following the Senate confirmation of his replacement, Nicholas A. Kleinfeld, who was nominated by President Barack Obama. From 2009 to 2017, Whitaker was a managing partner of the small general practice law firm Whitaker Hagino and Gustav LLP in Des Moines, Iowa. Political activities. During the 2012 presidential campaign, Whitaker was Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty's co-chairman in Iowa, and then state co-chairman for Texas Governor Rick Perry. Whitaker was a candidate for the Republican nomination in the 2014 United States Senate election in Iowa, a seat being vacated by Democrat Tom Harkin. He came in fourth in the Republican primary in June, with 11,909 votes. The nomination was won by Joni Ernst, who went on to win the general election. After losing the Republican primary, Whitaker chaired the campaign of Sam Clovis, another unsuccessful primary candidate who had been selected, later in June, to run for Iowa State Treasurer. Clovis lost in the November 2014 general election. World Patent Marketing. In 2014, Whitaker joined the board of World Patent Marketing, which offered business and legal services to inventors. In March 2017, the Federal Trade Commission charged the company with fraudulently deceiving consumers and suppressing complaints through intimidation and the use of gag clauses. In May 2018, a federal court ordered the company to close and pay a $26 million fine. Many customers suffered significant losses as a result of working with the company, and when they tried to recoup their fees, the company used Whitaker's background as a U.S. attorney to threaten them. In a 2015 email mentioning his background as a former federal prosecutor, Whitaker told a customer that filing a complaint with the Better Business Bureau or smearing the company online could result in serious civil and criminal consequences. The company contributed to Whitaker's 2014 U.S. Senate campaign. Whitaker performed almost $17,000 in compensable work for the company. In 2017, FTC investigators examined whether Whitaker had played any role in making threats of legal action to silence the company's critics. Whitaker rebuffed an FTC subpoena for records in October 2017, shortly after he had joined the Justice Department. White House and senior Justice Department officials were reportedly surprised to learn of Whitaker's connection to the company. Through a DOJ spokesperson, Whitaker has denied awareness of the company's fraud. The court receiver in the case said he has no reason to believe that Whitaker knew of any of the wrongdoing. As of November 2018, the FBI is still investigating World Patent Marketing. Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust. From October 2014 to September 2017, Whitaker was the executive director of the Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust, and the organization's only full-time employee in 2015 and 2016. FACT, founded in late 2014, is a conservative non-profit organization specializing in legal and ethical issues related to politics. The Washington Post reported in February 2015 that the group is backed by $1 million in seed money from donors who support conservative legal causes, and that Whitaker had declined to identify the donors. According to the organization's first tax return, its funding, $600,000 in 2014, came from a conservative donor-advised fund called Donors Trust, a pass-through vehicle that allows donors to remain anonymous. During Whitaker's tenure at FACT, the organization had a special focus on the Hillary Clinton email controversy and perceived favoritism in the business dealings of Clinton. While the head of FACT, Whitaker wrote opinion pieces that appeared in USA Today and The Washington Examiner, and appeared regularly on conservative talk radio shows and cable news. CNN contributor. Whitaker aspired to become a judge in Iowa, and hoped his media appearances would catch the eye of the Trump administration. For 4 months, from June to September 2017, he was a CNN contributor. 1 month prior to joining the Justice Department, Whitaker wrote an opinion column for CNN titled, "Mueller's investigation of Trump is going too far." He stated that Mueller's investigation is a lynch mob, that it should be limited and should not probe into Trump's finances. Constitutional issues. Whitaker stated in a question-and-answer session during his 2014 Iowa senatorial campaign that the courts are supposed to be the inferior branch. Whitaker was critical of the United States Supreme Court's decision in Marbury v. Madison, the decision that allows judicial review of the constitutionality of the acts of the other branches of government, and several other Supreme Court holdings. Harvard law professor Lawrence Tribe commented on Whitaker's views that the overall picture he presents would have virtually no scholarly support, and that they would be destabilizing to society if he used the power of the Attorney General to advance them. Whitaker also stated during his 2014 Senate bid that he would not support secular judges, and that judges should have a biblical view of justice. Asked if he meant Levitical or New Testament justice, he replied, "I'm a New Testament." Whitaker's answer has been interpreted by various individuals and groups, including the Anti-Defamation League, to imply that he would disqualify non-Christian judges, and were condemned as unconstitutional. An ADL spokesperson said, "The notion that non-Christian judges are disqualified from service is patently wrong, and completely inconsistent with the U.S. Constitution. which explicitly bars any religious test for public office. Whitaker stated in 2013 he supports the right of states to nullify federal laws. Stephen Vladek, a University of Texas law professor, stated that Whitaker's views on nullification are irreconcilable not only with the structure of the Constitution, but with its text, especially the text of the Supremacy Clause, and added that, for someone who holds those views to be the nation's chief law enforcement officer, even temporarily, is more than a little terrifying. Criticisms of 2017 Special Counsel investigation. During the months prior to joining the Justice Department as Jeff Sessions' Chief of Staff in September 2017, Whitaker made several statements critical of the Mueller investigation, of which he assumed oversight responsibility upon being appointed acting Attorney General in November 2018. By July 2017, the Trump White House was interviewing Whitaker to join the Trump legal team, during a 6-month span in 2017. According to The Washington Post, Whitaker insisted that there was no obstruction of justice or collusion and criticized the initial appointment of the special counsel. He also called the probe political and described concerns over Russian interference as being sowed by the left. He also published an op-ed titled, "Mueller's Investigation of Trump is Going Too Far," in which he expressed skepticism about the investigation generally and called the appointment of Mueller ridiculous. Through social media, he also promoted an article that referred to the investigation as a lynch mob. Relationship with Donald Trump. In early September 2018, Axios reported that Whitaker was on the short list of President Trump's White House staff as the replacement for Don McGahn as the White House counsel. In September 2018, The New York Times reported that White House Chief of Staff John Kelly referred to Whitaker as the West Wing's eyes and ears in the Justice Department, which the president considered himself at war with. Trump had spoken with Whitaker in September 2018 about potentially assuming Sessions' role as Attorney General, although it was not clear whether Whitaker would take over on an interim basis or be nominated in a more permanent capacity. At that time, The New York Times described Whitaker as a Trump loyalist who had frequently visited the Oval Office and as having an easy chemistry with Trump. Whitaker was referenced by White House staff after a New York Times article disclosed in September that Rod Rosenstein had discussed secretly taping his conversations with the president and talked about using the 25th Amendment to remove Trump from office. Trump repeatedly stated on November 9, "I don't know Matt Whitaker," contradicting remarks a month prior on Fox and Friends when he said, "I can tell you Matt Whitaker's a great guy. I mean, I know Matt Whitaker." Vox reported that the president met with Whitaker at least 10 times and frequently talked to him on the phone, and that according to a former and a current administration official, Whitaker advised Trump in private on how to potentially pressure the Justice Department into investigating Trump's adversaries. Other policy issues. Whitaker has ties to the evangelical Christian community. His website previously stated that he is a Christian who regularly attends church with his family. Matt has built a life on hard work and free enterprise. And he stated in 2014 that life begins at conception. In 2014 he advocated for reducing the influence of the government, saying, "I know that the government forcing people to violate their faith must never be tolerated. In the Senate, I will be a steadfast protector of every American's religious rights." He has expressed a desire to get rid of chain immigration and to stop a pathway for undocumented immigrants to citizenship. In 2014, Whitaker argued that expressing homophobic comments is legitimate expression of religious beliefs that should be protected speech, saying, "I just really think this case is a prime example of where religious freedom in our country is under assault and we need to send a strong message." In 2014, Whitaker supported repealing and defunding the Affordable Care Act in line with the previous Attorney General and stop Social Security. In 2016, Whitaker defended ExxonMobil as the executive director of FACT when the Attorneys General United for Clean Power Coalition started their investigation into the firm for not disclosing climate change risks. Whitaker called the investigation both unconstitutional and unethical. The investigation has matured, leading to 4 counts of fraud being filed against ExxonMobil. Department of Justice. The New York Times reported on November 9, 2018, that Trump had seen Whitaker's supportive commentaries on CNN in the summer of 2017. And in July, White House counsel Don McGahn interviewed Whitaker to join Trump's legal team as an attack dog against Robert Mueller, who was heading the Special Counsel investigation. The Times reported Trump associates believe Whitaker was later hired to limit the fallout of the investigation, including by reining in any Mueller report and preventing Trump from being subpoenaed. Chief of Staff. CNN reported that Leonard Leo of the Federalist Society recommended Whitaker to McGahn as Chief of Staff for Sessions, who, it is reported, did not realize for a year that Whitaker wanted to replace him. On September 22, 2017, a Justice Department official announced that Sessions had appointed Whitaker to replace Jody Hunt as his Chief of Staff. George Whitaker, a former U.S. Attorney and Deputy Attorney General, said in his role as Chief of Staff, Whitaker would have dealt daily with making substantive choices about what is important to bring to the AG. Murray Wiles of Vox reported on November 9, 2018, that in 2017 Whitaker provided private advice to Trump on how the White House might pressure the Justice Department to investigate the president's adversaries, including appointing a special counsel to investigate the FBI and Hillary Clinton. Acting Attorney General. With the resignation of Sessions on November 7, 2018, Whitaker was appointed to serve as Acting Attorney General under the Federal Vacancies Reform Act of 1998, though the legality of the appointment is controversial. The Acting Attorney General directly supervises Robert Mueller's Special Counsel investigation, which had previously been supervised by Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein in his role as Acting Attorney General, due to the recusal of Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?